This is the 17th season of Bass Talk Live with your hosts, Mark Jeffries and Matt Pangrak. BTL is brought to you by Lawrence, Bass Cat Boats, APCO, Duck and Fishing, Strike King Lures, Sunline, Big Bite Baits, Spro, Exo Lures, Yamagatsu, The Bass Tank, and Denali Rods. PTL coming at you. Good Friday, everybody. Welcome once again to another edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where today it is the watch party with Frank Scalish. And Frank, I was doing a little math before the show.
Yeah, I was told there would be no math.
I did a little math. I did the math. No need to calculate anything.
Excellent.
All right, but over the last 12 days, we have done 11 shows.
Dude, you're on a roll.
That's insane. I never thought that we would get to this point, but very, very happy, and hopefully the fans are enjoying everything that we're doing here on BTL. So today we have the watch party. The guys are on the Tennessee River going out of Knoxville, and got a chance to watch a little bit of the action, and we'll get into it here in a minute. Before we get into it, I have to say this, Frank. It was a late night last night. I didn't get back till almost midnight. It was round 2 of the playoffs, and this is the cool part of it. I got probably 12, 13 emails from people when I opened up my email this morning, from people congratulating us and me on our big victory last night in round 2 of the playoffs. Dude, we beat the number 9 team in the state by 19 points.
Dude, that's good. That's a good margin in basketball.
It was definitely the best high school basketball game I have ever coached in my life. It was insane. They have one player. He's a D1 player, 6'7". The guy had 3 points. 3.
Oh, you shut him down.
Well, we went we went old school, man. We went box and 1. And we put this dude that we have, he's only 6 foot, but he is a bulldog. And he absolutely shut him down. And if the kid's going to play D1 basketball, he needs to overcome adversity, because that's what he had last night, was a major amount of physical play and adversity. And we just shut him down. And, dude, we're 2 games away from making it to the state tournament. So it was an unbelievable night. I want to thank those people for reaching out to me. And that's cool. That is really, really cool that those people would take the time to do that. So play on Saturday night. Got to play a team we beat twice already this year. Forget about the old saying, oh, it's hard to beat a team 3 times. Well, you know what? It's going to happen on Saturday night.
You just take every game like it's the first game.
Yeah.
That's all you can do.
That's it, man. So many thanks to those people that reached out to me. All right, the task at hand right now, day 2 out of Knoxville. Dude, they got some weather moving in.
Oh yeah, that's an understatement. They're gonna be awful wet players in the next 2 days.
yeah.
Maybe 3.
A massive rain front that is getting ready to come through. They're already getting on it just a little bit, but Gussie taking care of business on day 1 and off to a decent start here on day 2.
Yeah, he's actually. It's gutsy what he's doing, and I love it, to be honest with you. Knowing that smallmouth are an 18-inch size limit, he's throwing away some 14-inchers, some 15-inchers, and that's hard to do. You know what I mean? That's hard to do when you know guys can go out and catch spots in largemouth and they only have to measure 14. Yeah. So my hat's off to the guy, and he figured it out. I mean, he only needs 2 more bites today for his 5, and if he gets 2 more 18-inchers today, he set himself up to win this event.
Yeah, man, it's hard. It's hard to go wire to wire, though. It really is.
It's brutal.
Yeah. For those that have not taken part or have not watched one of these watch parties before, what's going to happen here just in a few minutes, we actually capture the live feed from Bassmaster.com. And a big thanks once again to Bruce and his entire staff over there for allowing us to do this for 60, 90 minutes. And we will capture the feed. Then Frank will kind of break down some of the action that we're watching. Then we will actually have some BTL fans that are going to join us via video. And if you want to take part of it, I'm going to put up the link to where if you want to jump in there and be a part of the watch party via video, you can do that as the show progresses through the next 60 to 90 minutes. All right, Frank, another very, very familiar name is somewhat making a move today, currently unofficially in 5th place, and I'm talking about Greg Hackney.
Absolutely, dude. Is he not a machine or what?
He is.
I absolutely love that guy. You can never, ever, ever rule Hackney out. And the thing I like about him is his demeanor is the same whether he's hammering them or whether he's not catching them. He is steady as a rock.
All right, let's do this. Let's bring in our fans now that are going to take part in the watch party. First, let's welcome Dennis. Dennis, how you doing, man?
Good, Mark. Good. Hey, Frank.
What's up, Dennis? How are you?
I'm doing great, dude.
All right. Next up, we're going to bring in Terry from North Carolina. Terry, how are you, man?
Doing great. Thanks, guys, for having me.
All right. Then a second BTL fan from North Carolina. Let's bring in Travis. Travis, how are you, man?
Good. Congrats on the win.
All right, thanks, man. It was awesome. It really was. I could not go to sleep. I got about 3 hours sleep. It's just massively jacked up on adrenaline. So we'll see if we can get it done on Saturday. All right, so that's who we have for the watch party. Let me go ahead and let's see here. Let me bring in the feed. There we have the feed right there, and we're going to take our first look at Brandon Card, who now is making a move, just caught his 4th keeper there, Frank.
Yeah, he's throwing a jerk bait on little shallow creek channel ditches that run into the back by those pocket mouths, and that is absolutely outstanding. Great way to catch them. Love it.
All right, guys, if you have a question for Frank, I will see everybody in the queue. Just kind of raise your hand, and then I will queue up your shot, and then we'll let you ask Frank a question anytime you want to ask. And we see Hackney going off there.
Of course he is, dude.
Yeah, it's so entertaining to watch him. It's just a treat to watch what he does on the water. All right, Frank, I want to ask you this. We saw some shots earlier. It looks like that they are running a pretty good amount of water today.
Yeah.
That current has to come into play from this point on if they continue to run that much water out of the through the dam and maybe even increase it a little bit.
Yeah, the current's always a factor, and the more current, the more predictable the fish are. So you have to remember that. Now, some of the guys way up the creek mouths, way up in the back of the creeks, the current will be there, but it won't be as prevalent. Guys fishing more towards the main river are going to have that current to their advantage.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see how it unfolds, because they're going to get a ton of rain, and they're going to have to keep that water moving. Now, the only danger for the smallmouth guys is if that water starts to get muddy, where the guys fishing shallow crankbaits and blade baits and stuff like that could play into their hands better. So you'll see a little bit of movement on the leaderboard. But if the guys in the top 4 are establishing such a margin against the rest of the field that everybody's playing catch up behind them.
All right, we see a shot of Hackney there as the commercials roll through on the picture-in-picture. I want to go to what Gussie was doing. We saw some footage and coverage of him earlier, and he was doing the deep water thing in 20 foot of water, looking at his graph. And I was kind of surprised because he caught a smallmouth and he was actually fizzing that fish. And I cannot recall somebody fizzing a fish when it's only 20-foot water. I say only. Obviously at Table Rock and places like that, when you catch them in 40, 50 foot of water, you have to fizz them. But I didn't think 20 feet was a big deal, Frank.
Yeah, I mean it's all predicated on where they live and how they are used to living in that environment.
Yeah.
Lake Erie, 20 feet. Sometimes they need it, sometimes they don't. You know it when you put them in your live well and they float belly up. They need fizzing. But traditionally speaking, like on Norman, I've caught largemouth in 23 feet of water, and they all need to be fizzed.
Really?
Yeah. Conversely, on Lake Erie, I've caught smallmouths in 23 feet, and none of them needed it. So it just depends. The Buffalo tournament, I was catching them 38 to 40, and everyone had to be fizzed.
Yeah.
No matter what.
So it's all about the environment then, where they're living.
Yeah, I mean, if they're used, if 20 feet is deep for them, and usually on a river system it is, they'll need to be fizzed. If they're living in a super deep reservoir where they're chasing bait fish from 20 feet to 10 feet, running bait balls and stuff like that, they're not as pressured into that situation. But, the fish will tell you if you put them in and they belly up, they got to be fizzed.
All right, there we're seeing Hackney. I think that was a highlight. Wow, look how he ate that spinnerbait. Ooh.
Yeah, this is from this morning right here.
Yeah.
This fish here.
Yeah.
And that's a solid bass. I'll bet you that thing's probably 3+. They don't look like it on TV, but that was a good fish, man.
Yeah. Fort Loudon, Tellico. What's your experience on that body of water, Frank?
Never been.
Unique? Is it unique?
Every body of water has nuances.
Yeah.
I know the smallmouth are prevalent on those two lakes, but it's hard to ignore the current right now for smallmouth fishing. If I was down there, I would definitely spend time on those lakes looking, but these guys don't have a whole lot of practice time, so it's a little tougher.
Yeah.
So
all right, let's do this. Let's see if we can listen to what Jamie's saying. Hang on.
I lost one on a crankbait, just grabbing the last hook. So the bite still seems to be tough. I think it should open up today. I don't see why they won't start biting real good today. So I haven't hit hardly anything of mine yet. So kind of just hit a new stretch, caught a big smallmouth. Maybe it'll give me a clue, at least on a depth on a bank. I'm going to roll with it right after I'm done with this right here.
Jamie, you said yesterday late in the day, it was a little bit frustrating, but you had thought you dialed in what they would bite. Kind of what's been the bait of choice late yesterday and so far today?
Well, today's different right now. I don't think they're on what I'm trying right now, it's just a few shallow docks. I think the sun put them on there real good yesterday afternoon. But I found a bait that they'll bite. Yesterday I ran all of them and never got a bite. I got a couple bumps. So I come back around, picked up the shaky head and made it work. They're hitting it real good and keeping it. So, but size isn't there, but I'll take 4 keepers right now. That's for sure.
All right, there you have it. Some comments from Jamie Hartman, and he mentioned sun yesterday, Frank. Today, and it looks like for the remainder of the tournament, at least from a forecast standpoint, it looks like it's going to be rain and clouds and fairly calm, not really that rough. This time of the year, especially on a system like the Tennessee River, how critical is sun versus clouds and rain?
Well, I know that on the Great Lakes, the smallmouth love the sun, but my experience traveling across the country, that rain gets them fired up. It gets them more active. They see good in the overcast conditions. They see good. Now you got to remember the water there is nowhere near as clear as it is in some of the northern smallmouth lakes. So this could be actually a benefit to them. the largemouth fishing should start to pick up, especially for the guys running the shallower backwaters with this rain.
All right. Any of you guys have a question? Travis, Dennis, anyone? No questions yet? Dennis has a question.
You're on mute, Dennis. Oh, there you go.
All right, thanks, Frank. Hey, I haven't heard much about any of these guys going into these secondary creeks and working these secondary points. As far as from what I understand, it's like a great place for these fish to load up, getting ready to go, do their deal. Is it too early in the year for them to be doing that now?
Well, some of the guys are actually catching them far back up in. I think what they did was they found bites that they can get. So the fish that already moved shallow are staying shallow. Most of the guys on the main bodies of water are fishing, on the main river channel stuff. Those fish haven't even moved yet. So I think what's happening, what you're seeing is you're seeing guys fishing the first wave of fish that moved in and guys fishing the ones that haven't moved yet. So there might be that dead zone on those secondary points, from, let's say, mid creek to 3/4 of the way back. They might be seeing there's just not a lot of fish in those areas yet.
All right, thanks, Frank.
All right, any other questions? Terry?
Yeah. What is the deal with the size limit as far as 18 inches for smallmouth? Do they have that many big smallmouth in that water?
Well, what they're trying to do is actually create a good population of decent sized fish by doing that. There's some lakes up here where they did that too. They had 15-inch size limits on them. And I'll give you an example. What happened on this one lake, it was a 15-inch size limit. And every tournament that I fished on that lake and won, I had all, 4-pounders. And so what happened was when I started fishing Bassmasters and gone for a while, they had taken the size limit off the lake and knocked it back down to 12 inches. And 2 years ago, I went there fun fishing, and you're hard pressed to catch a 4 or a 5-pounder now. You're catching a lot of little 10-inch stuff and 12-inch stuff. So I think these guys are doing the right thing here.
Thanks, Frank.
Travis?
In the beginning, we talked about the changes in the weather. Tennessee, they've had a lot of sunshine, a lot of warm weather, and then you're seeing the rain move in, the front move in, temperatures are dropping. When you've got fish, obviously trying to move in for the type of season, how does that weather temperature being really warm for several days, dropping on a river system like this, how does that differ, or what does that do to change the fish, and how is it different than other bodies of water?
Well, the nice thing about this is they were on a warming trend, air temperature wise, prior to this event. Okay, so then what happens is it takes a while for the water temperature to start cooling down. So if they get some cooler weather with some rain, it's not going to do too much to the water temperature. Now, later on in the event, the runoff, if it's cold rain, the runoff could start dropping the water temperature on them. But for the most part, all this is doing is, going to make some fish start feeding, because they just, in cloudy, rainy, overcast weather, they just start feeding. So I don't see an issue yet, but towards the end of this event, depending on how much water they get, how much runoff water they get, it could start to change things.
All right, Frank, real quick, look at the way that Brandon Card is working the bait that he's using. What does that remind you of? What does that remind you of? It
reminds me of a Carolina rig, okay?
That's right.
All right, leave me alone. That's exactly what he's doing. He's actually sliding it along.
Yeah.
I didn't see exactly what he was throwing on that thing, but maybe
it looked like some kind of shaky head.
Oh. Yeah, could be a small wobblehead, maybe.
Yeah.
If he gets a couple, if I did that and I got a couple of bites, I'd be whipping the rig out there. and maybe wouldn't be catching them. Who knows? Maybe I would.
See,
Yeah.
I think one of the cool things about events like this is we just saw some footage of Hackney power fishing with the spinner bait, covering water. You know, that's his game. And then you look at Gussie, what he's doing, you know, he's looking down. He's got massages taking place in the evening because he's looking down at his electronics so much, you know, totally doing the targeting what he's seeing on his graphs. And then you've got this situation right now with Brandon Card and the fans just they get to enjoy all kinds of techniques and tactics.
Yeah, and that's what I love about this event. He's actually, it looks like he's throwing a small finesse football jig or a finesse jig. That's what I love about this event. You're going to see some versatility. You're going to see a lot of different techniques and a lot of different fishing styles. Guys that could find fish that are reacting to their strongest techniques are going to do real well in the tournament. Jeff leading it is doing what he's done most of his life. And Hackney, the same thing. Hackney's fishing the way Hackney fishes. So this is great actually to see. And, you know, the nice thing about these grinder events is that you have one good day and you make a massive move up the food chain here. And that's why these events are my absolute favorite events to fish. I fished a lot of slugfests in my day and I hate them because if you're not hammering them, you're not going to move anywhere. But on these events, if you figure one little tiny thing out, it can mean the difference between going home with a big paycheck or going home with none.
Yeah. All right. Any questions, guys? I'm looking. All right. We're good, Frank.
I'm trying.
Yeah, that shot there is kind of. Let's see. Let me see if I can cue up the audio. We can pick something up here. Hang on a second.
But it's been really fun. I mean, I'm fishing the way I like to fish. So that's all.
Just what we said.
Yeah.
If you can hear.
Lay Lake is probably my favorite. That's the Coosa River. It's like we had the last open of the year was there last year when it got rescheduled. Probably fish there more than anywhere.
All right. Can't really.
No, we can't.
Tell. I'm gonna go out of that shot here real quick. Let's see if I can cue up another one.
Travis has a question.
Travis.
Hey, what do you think that full moon is going to do coming up?
I'm not 100% sure. I don't know exactly. Judging by the stage that the fish are in right now, I don't think too much. If we had later in the month and the water temperatures were 9 degrees warmer, I'd say it would have a bigger impact. Right now, these fish are moving based on length of daylight in the daytime. That's what's starting to get these fish going. That's why some of the back of those pockets have fish in them, because as we make that transition from winter to spring and the days get longer, that's what really starts triggering the fish movement, because a fish sitting in 15 feet of water doesn't have any idea that it's warmer in 4 feet. So it's the length of the days that start to trigger their movements. So I think later on that full moon would be important, but right now I'm not so sure.
Hey, can you hear me, Frank?
Yeah.
Okay. Technology is a great thing.
If
All right,
you know how to use it.
there is a chance that you guys might lose me. If that does happen, I will rekey it up and then we'll go right back into it, because I'm going to have to do something that I've never had to do before, which is close down a program and then bring it back up. But based upon how this thing works, you guys should be fine until I momentarily come back. All right.
Okay.
So you got to carry it, guys. Ask Frank some questions. All right.
Carry it. We're gonna take over. He's very positive that you're gonna be lost, Mark.
Okay.
Very positive.
All right. Here we go. We'll see what happens. All right.
And so, Frank, real quick, kind of piggybacking on Travis's question. So, as far as the moon goes, and it's the length of the days. As the days get longer, even if the temperatures stay down, that's still the fish still may move shallow. Is that correct?
Yeah, because what's happening is it's coming into their time to spawn. So as the eggs mature on the fish, as time progresses, biologically the fish know where they have to go. The only way they get started kicking it off is as the days get longer. This just falls right into suit at for their seasonal migrations. It's very prevalent in the spring. Okay, it's very prevalent in the spring. Right now, with the full moon stuff, I don't think these fish are far enough along where that moon is going to matter. Now, in the summertime, the full moon sparks a lot of nighttime feeding. Some of your day bites get real tough. Nighttime fishing gets really good. You know what I mean? That's kind of where the moon plays into this in the summertime. But in the springtime, it's really important to pay attention to the moon phase when the fish are actually spawning or almost about to spawn.
All right, am I back?
You
guys got me? All right.
Yeah.
Got it.
You're back in action. And so we're watching Steve Kennedy do his thing.
What does it take? I mean, for somebody like, both sides, right? You got Greg Hackney, you got Mark Menendez. Their performances have been really good, coming off of a good performance, and then you got, I believe, Steve Kennedy, if I remember correctly. He didn't do too hot last tournament. So, what does it take to go from a good tournament and come in and do really well, and then having a not so good tournament come in and be doing a lot better?
It's when you have a really good event, and you're going to the next event, your confidence level is sky high. Okay, so you have an advantage, because at that point in time, in your last event, you've made the right decisions. You've proved to yourself that your decision making is good, and you're going into the event with a positive push. When you go to what I used to do, if I had a bad event going into the next event, I forgot completely about the bad event. I don't dwell on it. I used to in the beginning, but as I fished more and more, the event that's bad, once the event's over, I leave it where it is. You know what I mean? Because new bodies of water offer new opportunities. And if you're too worried about something that happened in the past, you might miss the opportunities that are set in front of you on a new body of water. So I called it tunnel vision. Basically, all I ever focus on is the lake I'm on at the time. Now, conversely, if I have a bad event and there's not another tournament to run to, like if it's not a back-to-back event, I would stay at that lake and I would fish another day or so to try and figure out where my mistake was, so I would not make that mistake again. So that's kind of how I use the events. But on a back-to-back event, you don't have a choice. You have to leave to go to the next one. So at that point, the minute I pull off that lake that the bad event occurred, I don't even think about it anymore.
There you go. All right, I'm probably the only guy on the planet that may realize this, but if you look at that shot there and you look at the title sponsor of the Bassmaster Elite Series, it says guaranteed rate. All right, they are sponsoring 4 Elite Series events. Well, guess who the title sponsor of the PBA Tour is, Frank? The Professional Bowlers Tour. It's guaranteed rate.
There you go.
All right.
You have effectively melded 2 sports together.
I try to do it all the time. I've even got a bowling commercial for Hammer in Brunswick.
That is outstanding.
They see the value in what we do from a fishing standpoint. They see the correlation. A lot of guys out there, man, I'm telling you, I get feedback about the bowling.
Well, so the demographic has to be fairly similar.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is.
We like your bowling, Mark.
Thanks, man. Thank you. So I'm telling you, one of these days we're going to get it set up, and it's probably going to be, I'm thinking either Table Rock or Lake of the Ozarks, we're going to do the pins and fins thing. Combination fishing and bowling, where pros will team up with BTL fans. That's kind of my ambition for that.
I want to go.
Yeah. Oh, you're invited, dude. How cool.
Even though I can't roll a bowling ball, but
that's all right. How cool would that be, though, for BTL fans to be able to fish a day with one of the touring guys, and then have a few beverages, and then be able to competitively bowl with these guys, of which I know there's only a handful of them that can even throw the ball down the lane, let alone get some decent scores in there. So yeah, that's an event that we're trying to get going here for
that'd be cool
next year.
I actually love that mixed stuff. I really do. They did the fins game with the golfers.
Yeah,
back in the day.
The skins. Oh, the skins and fins. That's what they did with the golf thing. And I know they have a big golfing and fishing event. I believe it's at Lake of the Ozarks every year. But 2021, we're going to shoot for the whole pins and fins thing.
That's outstanding.
Yeah.
Just give me the dates.
I know.
I'm there.
Well, hopefully the
Table Rock.
Yeah, hopefully the BTL fans will enjoy that too and jump on board on that concept and idea. All right, we're taking a look in the picture-in-picture there of Steve Kennedy. And so many fans out there love Steve Kennedy for a lot of reasons. One, because of what he did at Clear Lake when he did break the record and the whole swim bait thing that took place.
I was there.
Yeah, in the early 2000s, and we have spoke about that numerous times on this show. But the other thing is, and folks, if you have not seen the documentary that Matt and I did on Steve Kennedy, check it out on basson.com. It was one of the first ones that we did, but I think you will see a side of Steve Kennedy that very, very few people really, really know and really understand what Steve Kennedy is all about. Great dude, one of my favorite guys to ever interview, and just an amazing angler, Frank.
Yeah, he always has been, and his demeanor has always been the same since the first day I ever met him, a million years ago. He's the same guy, which is outstanding because, people change over time, but he hasn't. I mean, he's just the same person he always was.
Yeah. A very rich tradition. I know his dad really influenced what he has done from the aspect of being in the Millionaires Club for earnings on really every professional tour that he has fished has just been one of the elite guys in this game.
Yeah, he's a good guy. I remember that Clear Lake event was just unbelievable. I was getting roughly 20 pounds a day and thought I was doing something really good. And then these guys are catching 45 and 50 pounds a day. Yeah. And it was like, it opened my eyes. I mean, I was like, holy smokes, man, did I not figure this place out? And actually Steve in that event, he had snagged a couple of 8 or 9 pounders and had to let them go. Cause in California, if there's a hook, if you hook them on the outside, you have to let them go regardless if you're sight fishing them or not. They have to be let go. And he's just like, oh, well, I guess I got to let this one go. Throws an 8 pounder back in there, fires out a cast and catches a 10. So I mean, it was just like, holy, I was like, oh my gosh.
I know.
Yeah, it was wild.
Is he tying a leader?
He is.
He's tying an FG knot too. Looks like.
Go ahead.
I was saying it looks like he might be tying an FG knot there.
He is.
Yeah, he is exactly tying the FG knot. That's the best knot I've ever seen from braid to fluoro. Is the FG. It's so thin profile. It goes through your guides, and you can almost not hear it go through the guides if you tie it properly. It takes a little bit of practice, but once you get it down, it's not a hard knot to tie. It's really not.
Frank, I got a question.
Go ahead.
Getting back to you're just talking about like the Clear Lake scenario where you're getting 20 pounds a day and these guys were getting, 40.
Hey, don't rub it in.
No, dude. That's my life story. Every time I fish a tournament, I'm consistently. Now I fish team tournaments, but I fish alone. I fish by myself, and I'm consistently in the middle of the pack. I can bring in 12, 13 pounds every tournament, but it's always like in the 20, 21 pound range for the guys that always win it. And I have strived to do everything I can possibly do to try to figure out what I'm doing wrong. And I don't know what I'm doing wrong, man.
Yeah, I can't be an armchair quarterback unless I'm actually in the boat with you. But here's what I've found. If I underestimated the lake, okay, so what I do is I look at the time of year I'm going to a lake, and then I research all the tournaments that happened at that time of year. Not how they were catching them, but what the weights were.
Right.
Because after that event, I never underestimated a lake again after that event. So I know that if let's say we're going somewhere in March and I look at the lake in March and it consistently takes 18 to 22 pounds to win, right? So now I know that I need to be in the hunt. I need to have that 18 to 22 pounds. So if I'm out there and I'm catching a lot of 12 and 13-inch fish, I know that I'm not on a pattern that's going to get me the big bites. So then I start to elaborate on that pattern better. I start to look for other things, other ways to fish, and maybe I'll catch some better quality. So what happens is I might go from catching 15 fish a day, okay, to catching 7 fish a day. But the 7 fish I'm catching might be in where I need to be in the hunt, okay?
Right.
So I'll give up bites to catch larger fish. Absolutely. So here, see what's going on now. See we're getting like a quick shot of a bunch of guys that are fishing shallow, and now they're starting to smoke them. So now the weather system is starting to take precedence. The fish are starting to behave better now, and they're starting to bite better now.
The thing I noticed, Frank, was the water color in some of the highlights that they're showing now. I mean, that watercolor looks just fantastic.
Yeah, it is. It's a good color for me. I on these lakes like that, I like to have a couple foot visibility anyway. For where they're at, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I know that Loudon will be clear. You'll have much more visibility than that on Loudon, but the river itself, 2 feet visibility is great. If you encounter that on the Great Lakes, you're like, uh-oh, it's dirty. You know what I mean? Because we're used to seeing, 15 feet down. But, this is good. And this is what's going to help the shallow water guys out right now.
All right, I have to ask you this. This looks like perfect spinnerbait conditions. Why not? And we did see Hackney throwing a spinnerbait earlier. Why would you not find an area where you can just cover a ton of water super quick, because those fish have to be moving up eventually because of what has taken place on the lake from the spawn standpoint? I would think covering more water with a spinnerbait or a bladed jig or something like that would be the right call. What are your thoughts, Frank?
Well, yeah, I mean, it could very well play that way, but if in the event, I'm gonna stay and do more of what I did to get bites up to that point. If you notice, there's not a lot of guys catching fish.
Well, that's why I say that.
Right.
Why not cover as much water that you can in a specific time period? Because wouldn't that increase the amount of opportunities that you have to get a bite rather than just milking one spot for 30 minutes?
Well, yeah, you're right. But here, what you have, what you have with Jeff is he's in an area that's got a series of bumps and humps in it. It looks like he's fishing the same spot, but he's really not. He's actually moving around, probably in a area the size of a football field. Okay, and there's a lot of fish where he's at. If you look at Brandon Card's fishing a creek channel, and you know it's shallow outside the creek channel, or there wouldn't be marker buoys on it. So he's fishing traditional staging places where these fish are moving up into to go back into that creek. So these guys are putting themselves into areas where fish are keep coming from. If you look at Cruz is actually working down the bank, targeting the differences on the bank, and so is Steve Kennedy. But it looks to me more like Kennedy's fishing more of a 45-degree sloping bank with rocks and stuff on it. So all these guys are fishing transitional areas.
I've got to put this comment up. Look at this. New trend. Cast, look down at graphs, reel, repeat.
Yeah, but you gotta understand something, okay?
Oh my goodness!
You gotta have one eye on your locator, guys, because if you're fishing a ditch edge, you want to make sure that your boat positioning is proper. Now, if you're doing what Jeff's doing, you gotta have your eye on the graph because you're sight fishing. Okay, you're actually seeing the fish that you're catching before you catch them. So you have to have your eye on the graph. Now, go ahead.
That's got to be a T-shirt, man. Somebody's got to throw that out on a T-shirt. Cast, look down at grass, reel, repeat.
Right. Now you see Jeff. That's excellent. You see Jeff just made a move, but he didn't move far. He probably moved 30 yards. Okay.
Yeah.
But he's clearly fishing isolated bumps where he's at. He's clearly fishing that kind of stuff. So he's got himself a little milk run on a half a dozen spots or more in a similar area, where you see, like here, if I was bottom of the pack and I didn't have much going on and maybe I weighed in 4 pounds, I would be doing exactly what you said, Mark. I'd be on the bank rolling, trying to get bites. If I did that for an hour and didn't get any bites, I would move and do something completely different because it's not working.
Do you think that is something that a lot of the weekend guys that fish tournaments, they get so dialed in on one thing that they don't take advantage and slow down rather than trying to cover too much water?
Well, I think what happens is on some of these tournaments, the local guys have local fever. So what happens is they have a bunch of places where they normally catch fish. So they run those places and they concentrate. Well, I always catch them here, I'm going here. Or I always catch them there, I'm going there. And if the pattern changes on them, okay, their adjustment time takes too long because they're running spots. They're not fishing a pattern. They're fishing locations. And so they may miss out on a pattern that's right in front of their face. And I see this a lot, especially locally. I always catch them here. I'm going to run here, there. They hit 50 spots. One spot might have some fish on them. And they're like, see, I told you. And then the guys come in, the tournament's over, and guys smashed them doing something completely different on places that, these guys never even thought about fishing. It's just, if you get so tunneled in on past history, you can't see what's opening up in front of you.
Gotcha. Questions, anyone? All right, who was that? Travis.
Yeah, sure. So since you're talking about pattern and spots, I've heard pros talk about how some lakes are spot lakes and some lakes are pattern lakes. Brian New, you've been talking about Norman the past couple of shows here. Brian New mentions that he says Norman's a spot lake, and then you hear other guys saying, patterns. What are your thoughts on spots versus patterns?
Norman fishes both ways. I have places on Norman where I always catch them no matter what time of year it is. Always. That lake is unique. That lake also, I run patterns in that lake. I could be running wind patterns one day and then the wind changes and I'm running the same pattern but on the opposite places because the wind is different. I see that time and time again wherever I go. you have to understand there's certain things like on Eufaula, I found some deep brush piles on channel ledges in 15 feet of water. And in practice, I found them and I caught a 5-pounder out of one and then shook a bunch off. I went there in the tournament, but the wind was different and I couldn't get a bite. So I made a 40-mile run up the river on Eufaula to go fish some current and caught some fish. I needed to make the classic that year. I think I needed 4.5 or 5 pounds. The wind shifted. I ran all the way back to that brush pile with enough time to make 2 casts. And the first cast in there, I hooked one and broke them off. The second cast, I caught a 5.5 and made the classic. That's recognizing the pattern. That's recognizing what the wind did to that spot. You know what I'm saying? That's what you got to pay attention to when you're fishing. Is there's some certain little things that matter. Wind could matter, current could matter, the type of bait fish the lake has could matter. Everything makes a difference in that environment.
That makes sense.
All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, I've got another one for Frank.
Okay.
Frank, could you explain the difference in between or the times of year? Like if we're looking at a point and you've got a long sloping point, and then you have those other points that come out and they just like drop right into the channel. When is the best time to fish those long sloping points versus the ones that just kind of come out and then just drop off right into the channel?
Generally, I'll focus on the short, steep points in cold water periods. Is generally when I'll focus on those. As the lake, if you're going, what I call from going to winter to spring is the warming trend, and from fall to winter is the cooling trend. So basically, as we're into the warming trend, I start to focus on longer, gradual sloping points.
Right.
In the winter, I focus on the deeper stuff. As the water starts to warm, I start to move to the more shallower tapering points. As we start to approach the winter again, I do it completely the opposite way.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we're watching Hunter Shryock now, who just landed a
Lake Erie redfish.
Yeah. That's a good way of putting it, Frank.
Hey, you guys, a drum is a drum, man.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, I've seen my share of those big groaners. That's the kiss of death when you're drop shotting for smallmouth. When you go, and it's just like, you're like,
Yeah.
Oh, well, we know what that is.
We call them the St. Clair clowns.
That's good.
That's great, dude. Yeah, St. Clair is a great fishery.
Yeah.
St. Clair is one of the only lakes in the country that I know that you could literally catch a smallmouth anywhere in it. You know what I mean? From bank to bank. There's like no dead zone in that lake. Where like even like on the Great Lakes, you know that if you get to a certain point, you're not catching them anymore. But that lake, I've caught them in the flat middle of that lake and 22 feet of water, and I caught them fishing, 2-foot deep sandbars in the same day. So it's just, that lake is just psycho.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, and it's getting better. Actually.
It is. Yeah, I live right on the river, so I just have to go to the right for about 10 miles, and I'm right through the channels and then into the lake.
Okay.
You're a lucky man.
All right. I paused this, Frank, because I just want to go over a couple things for the fans. And if you're listening to the replay on iTunes or any other podcast platform, this is something that you might check out. Kind of set this up as a classic situation, a classic area where they might be staging and then eventually are going to move back up in here. Is this a typical area, a typical setup for lakes in the Midwest and in the South for this time of the year, Frank?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking at the picture you stalled, and it looks to me like you can almost see the gravel rock pile to the right of Hunter. It's like,
right.
exactly. You're right on
Yeah.
it. Okay. So you can tell that that's a flatter tapering area. And dollars to a donut, looking at the map, what I would see is as you get closer to Hunter, there's going to be a channel swing on the inside edge of that, right where your finger is. Yeah, there's going to be a channel swing right in there. And those channel swings, those are money, and that is that time of year. That's what they like. They like those inside channel swings, inside or out.
Because eventually they're going to move back up in these pockets and end up spawning. What about this point over here? That looks like, and I hate to say it, but depending on what the structure is and the depth, that looks like a very, very typical Carolina rigging area or a football jig, pre-spawn area.
Yeah, actually, both of those places are where Hunter's at and that other place. Yeah. I would never hesitate to throw a rig on that stuff. I don't know what the bank composition is on the second one that you pointed to.
Yeah, right there.
But to me, it looks like it's more sandy. Because you see the grass, you got the grass growing there.
Yeah.
And then if you look at the farmland to the left of that, it doesn't look like it's as rocky as where Hunter is.
Over here.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And so the boulders are going to offer more cover for the bass as they're moving in and give them a feeding zone.
All right, that's cool stuff there. You can kind of see that point that goes off there. Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah, that offers a lot of hiding places right there. And he is, seeing where he is on that inside swing. So there's probably another shallow spot to his left that comes out as well. That's a really good funnel place right there.
Let's see if we can pick up what he's saying.
Max sent general on a shaky head, throwing that around in places that I feel like there's fish, but it's definitely a grind, but there's some big ones in here. So hopefully we snatch up a couple more and we'll be good to go.
Yeah, that's a true statement right there. This is a grinder, man. You catch a couple of good ones, it's going to go way far in this tournament.
Yeah, that's a good looking area there.
Yeah, it is. I mean, everything looks good when you're not on the lake.
It's easy to be that armchair quarterback, right, Frank?
Yeah, you bet. Go, Trav. You're up.
If looking at that area and talking about how good it is, but then you don't see anybody around, like you don't see any other fishermen, why do you think that is?
I think this lake's spreading them out, one, for the amount of water that is in there, but two, because the fish are not ganging up in big groups yet. And so the guys got to hunt and peck. And so they're finding small areas with smaller aggregates of fish in them, and that's what's spreading this field out. If this tournament was, let's say, 3 weeks from now, you would see guys piling in on the backs of these pockets, and you'd see more guys fishing on top of each other. Go ahead.
So how much do you pay attention to what the other anglers are doing during a tournament? Everybody there that's fishing is good. So if you don't see anybody doing what you're doing, does that play into your game plan at all?
No, I don't want to ever see another guy.
Gotcha.
I don't worry about what other people are doing. I only worry about myself. If I'm catching fish, I don't even care what other people are doing. If I'm not catching fish, I keep changing what I'm doing until I figure them out. But I don't put a whole lot of credence on what somebody else is doing because I want to fish my style, my way. And that's just the way it goes. I think guys could lead you astray because you see somebody in an area and you might think they're doing something and they're doing something completely opposite of what you think they're doing. And that could lead you way in the wrong direction. So I just do what I have to do. And I don't really focus on where somebody is or what they're doing. Actually, when I fish tournaments, the only time I know if somebody's somewhere is if it's one of the places where I caught fish and I roll up on it and they're there.
Gotcha.
And then I'm like, oh, okay, well, they're fishing there too now. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
That's really the only time I know where somebody else is fishing.
Frank, could you run us through, let's say you were going to practice for this event right here. Could you run us through your progression of how you would handle that as far as locating fish and getting the correct size?
Yeah, I'll try to keep it kind of quick, because it's what I'll do. What I usually do is I get a history of the weights for that time of year, so at least I know where I need to be for the ballpark of what I need to weigh in. Then I'll go on Google Earth and I'll look at the place. And then I'll find an area that has the most of what I want to fish in it. And I'll start my search there. But I predicate everything on the seasonal pattern first, which is the broadest pattern, is the seasonal pattern. Once I catch a fish, I start honing it down and making my search smaller and smaller and smaller. So then as I hone in on it, the pattern, now I'm not paying attention to anything else but how I'm catching them and what I'm doing to catch them. So now the lake, as big as it is, becomes much smaller because I'm only looking for a certain thing. This is a river system. If it was a lake, I would break the lake down into quadrants. But since it's a river system, I would probably focus more on current and where the fish are going to. Because here, if you fish behind a bass, you can never find a bass. Right. So you always got to be a little bit in front of them or where they're at to catch them. You either got to know where they're going, or you're going to always be a day late and a dollar short.
Yeah, true. I've learned that many times.
Yeah, pre-fishing is a lot of fun for me. I really like trying to figure it out. That's my favorite part of fishing, is trying to figure it out.
All right, let's see if they're gonna.
What do you think of Mosley fishing in that full cornfield right there?
It's a testament to how shallow his boat will float.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, clearly he's at the service trailer or getting breakfast.
No, there he is right there. Look at the cornfield. Looks pretty good.
That's outstanding. Yeah, see, he's focusing on the back of those little guts. So the reality of what he's doing is any fish that is back there, it's such a narrow, confined area, he's going to probably catch the thing. So he knows that if he finds enough places like that and runs enough places like that, he's going to catch his fish. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't have to scour wide swaths of a river channel ledge and stuff like that. So he's focused on what he's doing, and he's obviously been catching fish doing it. So he'll probably just run from shallow pocket to shallow pocket and do exactly what he's doing the whole day, which eliminates 90% of the water for him.
Does it look like that area that he's in? Does it seem like the water's low?
Yeah, it looks like the water's low everywhere, at least a couple of feet. You can see by those brush piles or log piles behind him, that the lake is down some. And it usually is. They usually draw them down in the winter for rain and flood control. Up here, they draw them down in the winter because it's flood control from all the snow melt. So
Frank, look at those brush piles, man. Those are old school.
Yeah, those are old school. Those are bonfires. That's when that's for beer and a bonfire, man.
Oh, jeez.
That's what that is right there. But yeah, I mean, what Brock's doing right now, he can actually fish very efficiently, because he'll probably roll out of there, roll around to the next one, do the same thing in the next one. And he's only looking for 1 or 2 bites every time he pulls into one of those little pockets. As the weather warms, those pockets are going to start loading up. You know what I mean? Right now, he's got the early movers in there.
Yeah. They're saying water is down due to the winter pool from the TVA.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. This goes back to my earlier question, Frank. Slow and methodical. Pick these piers apart. Pick the docks apart. Take your time, or go as fast as you can and try and fish as many as you can within the time period you're allowed.
Two schools of thought. I mean, if he's slow and methodical, and he's picking apart every dock pole, every stump, every piece of wood that he finds in the water, he's going to get a bite from neutral fish. If he hauls through there fast, he may pass up fish that he would have caught if he slowed down. Or conversely, he might get stuck in a rut and fish too slow and wind up running out of daytime. You know what I mean? It's a double-edged sword, but it's one to definitely think about. I mean, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just going to point out, did you see what Bass did? They threw up the weather screen.
Yeah. Well,
everybody's giving me crap about the weather, and they threw up the weather screen.
No, weather and bass fishing go together like peanut butter and jelly, man.
I know, man.
They didn't use Ventusky.
No, they didn't.
They're wrong. They're wrong.
Yeah.
I see we got Chris on from New Hampshire.
Yeah,
hey,
Chris.
What's going on?
Hey, man, I don't know what's up with your email, but there was definitely something wrong.
I have no idea.
Yeah. So I'm glad you made it.
Hey, welcome back.
Yeah. My last day off till I go back to work.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's all right, man.
Yeah.
But Brock's probably caught fish in here before, and he knows they're in there, and so he's just going to take his time, and I don't disagree with that in that particular area. I'm a little less patient when I fish shallow water, so I have a tendency to keep on keeping on. But when I'm structure fishing, I have the patience of a saint. So it'll look like I'm barely moving when I'm structure fishing. Yeah. It's just the style, it's just your different styles.
All right. Any other questions as we watch Brock Mosley?
Well,
yeah, but I think he's going to catch one here.
Okay.
Looking at his boat, it seems like a lot of the elite guys have switched over and left Triton and went to Phoenix. Does anybody know what's going on with Triton?
Well, here, I'll answer that real quick, Frank. I have been trying for almost a month now to get somebody from White River Marine to come on this show and talk about why the reduction in their pro staff, because never in the history of this game that I can remember, Frank, what about you, that I have seen so much movement from one company that has been kind of just fragmented and scattered over the remaining boat companies as what has taken place with White River Marine. So the invitation is still out there. I have reached out for all my contacts to try and get somebody to come on the show. And right now, I don't have an answer. And I don't want to answer it. I want them to answer it.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Well, that's good because you just took me off the hot seat.
Yeah.
Which I prefer not to be in.
Yeah. No, I seriously, I have really been working hard to see if I can get somebody to come on. But the other thing that people realize, yes, this is a very small industry, but they are ginormous in this industry.
Oh, yeah.
And some of the things that they do, are typical stuff that happens in the corporate world.
Yeah, and you have to understand, too, they analyze their marketing strategies constantly.
Yeah.
They have to because, the pie is relatively the same size. And so you have to get more of that pie, so to speak. So they're constantly changing their advertising and marketing strategies to maximize what they're doing for boat sales. And it's confusing, not in a marketing sense, but it's confusing to me on how you go from extreme dominance to, I won't say neutrality, but you're not as dominant, and they're not as a dominant player anymore in the in the tournament game is what you're seeing on the water today.
Yeah.
But here's a perfect example. Look at all the aluminum rigs on the Pro Tours now.
No, that's a good point.
You never saw that before. And now you're seeing a lot of guys, in Lunds and Crestliners and Expresses.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the industry it's moving. It's a liquid industry. It's always moving.
So that's kind of the answer on that. By the way, I do want to mention there was a viewer that sent me an email that was an interview from the Wall Street Journal with the CEO of UPS. And if you don't know, I spent my entire career with UPS and ended up retiring with UPS. But it was interesting because he said, Mark, read her comments about the future. So I read through the story, and the biggest thing that I took from that interview was what she said. She said, we're trying not to get bigger, but we're putting our resources into getting better. And I have said this numerous times on this show, that the aspect of this game, the game of fishing, the sport of fishing, whatever you want to call it, it needs to get better. And nobody really says that. They say, oh, we got to grow the sport, grow the sport, grow the sport. Yeah, whatever. All right. I found it very, very unique that a company that has been in business well over 110 years, that the CEO would come out and say, hey, it's not about us getting bigger and making more money. It's about us getting better.
Yeah,
so very interesting.
Well, that's how it has to go.
Yeah.
Being better means being more efficient, more profitable. That's what being better it means. Just because you grow like mad doesn't mean you're good, or better, for that matter. And that's only that you're just buying time until you have to become better, or you'll go away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I agree to that. I mean, that's a very common strategy today, is to be better and more efficient at what you're doing.
Yeah.
And trying to grow larger and larger, because you will grow. The better you become, you will grow.
Yeah. So many thanks for sending that email. That's the first time that, number one, in 112 years, I think is how long the company's been around, 112 years, that they have, number one, a female CEO, and number two, they actually brought her in from outside. In other words, she didn't come through the UPS ranks, because typically it was, hey, to even get in management, you got to load trucks. You got to be a driver. You started from the ground up, and that's how it went down. So
sometimes, Mark, being on the outside looking in gives you a better perspective, because you're not caught up in the you're not caught up in the way things are always done. You're more free to look outside of that box, so to speak. No pun intended with UPS in a box, but
that's pretty good.
Hey, stick around. We'll laugh a little.
Yeah. Hey, somebody asked about the water temps. They're in the 50s, the low 50s. Some places are high 40s, but mainly in the 50s.
Yeah, and see, and to me, being in the 50s, that's not terrible.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially now we're drilling holes in our water, but that's okay.
That's something you don't see every day. Someone sitting down on the front of a bass boat.
No, you don't. I have real issues with doing that.
Right.
Is that Fritz?
Yeah, that's David Fritz.
Oh, that's why.
That's what he's done that for a zillion years.
I know. It's nice to see old Fritzster back on the old crankbait.
He's moving that thing, huh?
He did so much good for Pose when he was with Pose. It was unbelievable.
Yeah. He's not too far from Hackney.
Frank, how's your crankbait game?
That's my game.
Is it?
Yeah, I love cranking.
Right, cool.
Cranking is. I can't wait till the fish get off the shore so I could deep crank them and Carolina rig them and football jig them. I mean, that's where I live. But I don't mind shallow water cranking either. I'll burn the paint off of square bills, believe me. I love it.
I've got to go to Cleveland. I've got to go to Cleveland. I got to get back to my roots down there.
Is that where you're from originally?
Yeah, from Ohio, Akron, Canton area.
Oh, all right. Okay. Yeah. That's
Canal Fulton.
God, I know exactly where you're at. Portage Lakes.
Yeah, Nemisilla.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. Spend a lot of time there. I like traveling outside of Ohio to fish though.
Right.
Because there's actually lakes outside of Ohio. We have ponds. We have big giant ponds. That's
exactly.
what we have.
Yeah.
Some of my buddies, I would sit there and say, well, yeah, I was on this lake and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh yeah, take me with you next time. So I took a friend of mine with me to, it was actually Smith Lake, in Alabama, and Lewis Smith. And, I said, we're going to just launch in this creek arm until I can establish a pattern, and then we'll run out to the main lake. Well, the creek had a split in the back. We were in one side of the split. I fished there. I started catching fish. The bells started going off. I go, okay, I know what I'm looking for. So I run out of the little split I was into the main creek, started hopping around in the main creek, dialing in on the pattern a little better. And I go, well, now let's get out of here and go fish the main lake. He goes, what do you mean we're not on the main lake? I said, dude, you spend way too much time in Ohio.
Yeah, true.
It is. It's very true. When we came around the corner to the main lake, he was just like, oh my God, how are you going to find a fish out here? I said, we already know what we're looking for.
I left Ohio, went to Texas, and they said just fish the creek. So I'm thinking little tiny feeder creeks, like you have in Ohio. These things were like freaking lakes by themselves.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah. So, I mean, some of the creeks on the southern lakes are as big as our biggest reservoirs.
You been to Mohawk?
Yeah, well, back in the day. What's up, Mark? What do you got?
No, I'm looking to see if Fritz is actually talking. I think he is. Yeah, let me see if I can get it pulled up.
Oh yeah,
here.
Get him up there, man.
Yeah. All right, let's see here. Yeah. Well, he was talking.
Hey, he probably said, "Oh, I just rolled over that log."
Oh, now they're going away from him. Dang it!
He's like, "Oh yeah, I just came over that log," and then that was all he said.
Oh, and they just zoom past Hackney. Let's see if they go to Gussie. Yeah, we're on Gussie now.
He made a move.
We got audio too. So
yeah, he actually made a move.
You know how marketable the back of that rain suit is?
Oh, yeah, dude.
It's amazing there's nothing on there.
I know.
Well, yeah, with all the cameras in the back of the boat.
Yeah.
That's the new billboard.
Mm-hmm.
Frank, what is he actually doing here?
He's got a jig head with a plastic minnow body on it, and he's vertically fishing it, almost like we do ice fishing. He's getting right on top of the fish, and the minnow body stays at a 90 degree. Okay, so he ties it up, and the minnow body stays like this, and he just jiggles it through here. I'll draw it. He jiggles it through the fish, and basically, it's like drop shotting, but he's not really going on the bottom. He's keeping it above the fish. So here I'm drawing this thing right now. Exactly what he's doing. I think it's like a Damiliki rig. So hold on. Yeah, I can't even see what I'm doing.
Yeah,
here.
hang on here. Hang on.
That's
hang
okay.
On.
Now
we go.
the drawing's crude and fast, but
There we go.
But that's kind of what he's doing. Okay.
Gotcha.
And so he keeps it right above the fish. When you see the fish on the screen, smallmouth, any fish that's suspending, feet up. So when he comes over those fish, he keeps it above them, and then they come up for it and they get it. It's a very finessey presentation. So, I mean, quite frankly, it's insanely effective. And the deeper the water or more wind, you go to a heavier jig head to keep vertical, because you want to keep that thing in your cone so you can see it. If you can't see that bait, you're not going to be able to fish it effectively that way.
Is it basically like video game fishing, Frank?
Oh yeah, it's money.
Yeah.
Dude. Yeah, it's money. I mean, that's another thing I live for. Watching
I'm coming to Cleveland. I'm going to Cleveland.
We got to watch the drama unfold.
You mentioned Mosley fishing the first group coming in of fish in the back of that pocket. Aren't those normally the males that come in first, or is he just starting in the back, maybe working his way out to try to intercept the females?
No, you'll get both. Both will move in there. The big females might not be in the same locations that he's catching the smaller males in. They'll still be back there, but they may not be exactly on the dock poles. They might be out in front. See, like he's not right now, looks like he's casting out in front. So, well, no, there's another dock there, but yeah. So basically, what he's doing is, and you got to remember something. These bass are going to continually move back there from now until the spawn. This place is going to keep getting fish coming to it. So he's concentrating on these small, and if you notice, he's fishing these smaller pockets. He's not running way back in deep, long pockets. He's fishing the smaller ones towards the mouth of the creek. So he's generally going to get more, he's going to have more fish moving in to those areas. Now, there may not be a ton of fish in there yet, but it's so confined that anything that's in there, he can run a bait past them.
That looks like an epic staging area.
Oh, yeah,
right there.
dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm vibrating right now.
Easy, Frank. Easy.
Yeah, I know. I can't help it. It's only
Norman coming next week. Come on, man. Easy.
Oh, dude, it's coming in 2 days. I'll be
now
there in 2 days.
Yeah, we need to let everybody know, even though you're going to be at Lake Norman next week, we're still doing day 4 with Frank Scalish. He'll just be at Lake Norman.
Yeah, I'm going to actually take my time away from my fishing to entertain and educate.
You should do it from the water, Frank.
It makes me nervous. I don't want to lose the signal.
Oh, okay.
You know, I mean, my luck, that's exactly what'll happen. I'll lose the signal, or I'll go, set up on one and knock my laptop in the lake, which is even more my luck.
Wow.
I know.
All right, folks, we have about, let me look here. We got about 5 minutes left. So if you have any additional questions for Frank, we'll spend this last 5 minutes and fire them off to Frank, and he'll try and answer them.
Frank, when are you going to be down here at Norman?
Probably Saturday night. Well, not probably. I will be there Saturday night. Just in time for this weather front that's coming over these guys to get over Norman.
Right.
And it will be like this over there, at least from what I said. But I have to go on Ventuski and and double check the new weather app from Mark.
That's right.
That's awesome.
You need a weather report?
I need to blow that up. Hang on. Travis, hang on. Let me blow that up. Hang on. Let's see if I can figure out how to do this. Let's see.
That's the wrong
Mountain Creek.
Right there. Looky there.
Oh, man.
That's Mountain Creek.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Nice view.
Yeah, you're hurting me. You're hurting me.
It's about 10 inches of visibility and about 53, 54 degrees back here.
Perfect.
So,
Perfect. I'd
That's
like
better
a little,
than mine.
yeah, I'd like a little more visibility.
well, this is back. I mean, this is way back in like Mountain Creek, Lake Norman Marina area.
Yeah, I know.
Back there,
I know.
but if you stay, it clears out big time when you start making your way out.
Yeah, I know exactly where you're at. I fished that lake for, I don't even know how many years, forever. There used to be a tournament trail, Jerry Ryan's tournament trail out there. I used to fish that when I was much younger, way before I ever started fishing Bassmasters. A buddy of mine, Troy, got transferred down there, and he said, "Hey, I moved down here. There's this big lake called Lake Norman." I said, "I'll see ya. Be right there." And I've been fishing it ever since. Probably now close to 28 years, maybe longer.
You've seen a lot of changes.
Oh gosh, yeah, dude. Yeah, there was when I first started going down there was a peninsula land for sale. And my buddy and I were talking about buying it, but at the time I think we were 19 or 20 years old maybe. And we're like, and it wasn't a lot of money. I think back then it was like $50,000. And I'm like, man, where are we going to come up with that kind of money? We're 19 years old. So here, swear to God, this is true. Now it's called NASCAR Cove.
Oh,
Okay. And every NASCAR guy built their house in there. And like the most inexpensive house is probably $3 million.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. I'm like, do you realize if we would have bought that, dude, we would we wouldn't work ever again, ever.
Jeez.
And there was a lot of stuff back then too that had a lot of natural shoreline on it, and that's now nothing but houses.
boat docks.
Yeah, houses and boat docks, which is crazy. That lake has changed, dude. How about the traffic?
I'm on the Denver side, so it's not nearly as bad as over on the Mooresville, Cornelia side is pretty
dude.
bad.
Your money being on the Denver side.
Yeah. Gross coming this way.
Yeah, that's money, dude. That's where I always stay. I don't stay on the other side. I did that once, and I'll never do it again.
It's too crazy. It's too nuts over there. Traffic.
It could cost you an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Easily.
Yeah, sometimes it's easier just to drop and run to the ramp for like a tournament or whatever. It's just easier to drop and run to the ramp than it is to drive over there because it's. Driving over there, sometimes it could take longer than on the boat.
Yeah, there's no question. No question.
A lot of times I'll put in at the state park and then just motor down to 150. It's a lot easier, a lot less traffic.
Yeah, it's quicker.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. This is the Lake Norman show today on BTL. We're supposed to be talking about the Tennessee River.
Well, we have been for quite some time now.
I'm jealous, Travis. Travis, I'm jealous.
It's only been a couple of years, so.
See, now this looks like a much flatter terrain. Where old Johnny's fishing here.
I mean, there's got to be like isolated stuff out there that he's trying to target, be it
probably
rocks, boulders, brush piles.
Yeah, because
he just got hung up.
Yeah, judging by his rod tip, I think he's running over rock. It's a little more consistent than if he was bringing it over a limb, brush piles. Yeah, see how it's sweet. I want to see him get one right now.
I know that's a cool way to fish, Frank.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah, I know.
All right, so what are you going to do? Day one, Lake Norman, what are you going to be doing? Just don't go into a thesis. Just give us the cliff notes.
I'm going fishing.
I know, but come on, dude. You know you have an idea what you're going to do?
Yeah, I'm gonna concentrate on spotted bass first, just because I love the animal so much. So I'll probably do a lot of spotted bass fishing the first day or so anyway, and then start venturing out from there. Really.
All right.
You gonna be doing a lot of cranking?
Yeah, I will. I'll be throwing the speed end. Cotton Cordell Big O is really good over there. The speed end's good over there. Heck, the Norman middle end last year, I throttled them on that bait in Chili Bowl. And then there's a new color out on Lure Net Paint Shop, yellow splatterback. I'm going to try that out. I like the color. It looks funky, but it looks really good in the water. So I'm going to give that a whirl. I like to experiment on lakes I know well, because that gives me a good indicator of what baits perform and how well they perform. If you're on a lake you don't know very well and you're experimenting with a lot of different colors or new colors, it could lead you astray. Might be a good color, you just might not be in the right place.
All right, very cool. We are just about done. Oh, looky there.
Dennis has a little bluegill for us.
Hey, that's one I hand painted.
Oh, that's nice. A good job, dude.
Very nice.
Yeah. Good job.
That is good.
Nice.
I do some awesome crawfish ones too.
Great.
Very nice.
Good. It's good to see the creativity flowing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I got to do something while we've got hard water up here.
Yeah, you got to get your sled and go drill holes, dude.
And I've only got to walk probably 40 feet to do it.
Well, see, now I'd be drilling holes right now if I were you.
Yeah. Hey, is Junior going with you, Frank? Oh, looky there.
Oh, yeah, that's nice. Yeah, Frankie's going with me.
All right.
Absolutely.
I need to set the line. Who kicks whose ass?
Oh, don't do that, because
throwing money down.
Yeah, don't do that, because I'll big league him in the boat and he won't get a shot ever.
Oh,
I have a lot of years experience with that technique.
Very nice. All right, everyone. Big thanks for you guys joining the watch party today. We're going to do this every Elite Series event this year. Make sure you check out the post-game show on Sunday night, 7 o'clock, right here on BTL. I'm not sure yet whether Matt's going to be on or not. I guess it depends on how he gets things sets up for him for his first day of practice. So
hopefully it's going good for him.
Yeah,
and hopefully he's on post-game.
Yeah. So make sure you spread the word. We're almost at 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is really good, because we started this thing last year on YouTube, and it's been great. And if you're listening to the replay on the podcast, make sure that you give us a rating and do a review for us. It helps us out immensely. And that's going to wrap it up, guys. Thank you very, very much for being a part of the watch party. Make sure you check out Frank live from Lake Norman next Thursday on day 4.
Live in the house or on the boat dock.
Yeah.
Not on the water.
Frank, do you have a social media site where people can get a hold of you?
Yeah, it's Instagram. It's Scalish_fishing.
Okay.
The best way to get a hold of me.
All right. Good to know.
Or you can email Mark at Bazzone.
Yeah, I send them my way, man. That's what I'm going to be doing this afternoon, is answering emails.
If I send you a box of crankbaits and they go to Mark, will you get them?
No. I'm being honest. No.
I think
you send them to me. There is no way Frank's getting them.
I figured that.
I'll get them with the bills broken off and
no hooks left.
Right,
slightly used. Slightly.
This one's broken. Send it to Frank.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. All right, guys. Great stuff. And Sunday night post-game show, and then back on Monday. Ken Duke next week. Going to be guest hosting, and should be good next week. All right, Frank, man, I'll talk to you soon.
You got it.
All right,
Adios,
that's it. Everybody be safe. That's it. We're out of here.